From a soft-spoken Ukrainian woman searching for love,
What I'm doing in LA? What I'm doing here? Because I don't have a place to live. I sold my car. I have my mom. I don't have a work. I'm up. I'm struggling, obviously.
to a controlling partner who left emotional destruction everywhere she went. This is the disturbing story of how Natalie Mordovtseva's pursuit of the American dream evolved into one of the most toxic storylines in 90-Day Fiancé history. When Natalie Mordovtseva first appeared on television in 2017, viewers had no idea they were watching the rise of one of the franchise's most polarizing and emotionally draining figures. What began as a seemingly sincere romance with an American man slowly unraveled into a nightmare fueled by manipulation, dishonesty, and non-stop conflict, a pattern that would define Natalie's entire reality TV run. To understand how Natalie transformed into one of reality TV's most frustrating villains, everything traces back to Mike Youngquist, and a love story that initially looked almost perfect. Natalie's introduction to 90-Day Fiancé was different from most cast members. Unlike couples who met through dating apps or random online connections, her relationship with Mike Youngquist started through mutual friends, an American husband and Ukrainian wife who asked them to be godparents to their child. It felt organic, meaningful, and far more genuine than the rushed relationships viewers were used to seeing.
Svetlana showed me pictures of Natalie. I thought at first sight that she was absolutely beautiful and gorgeous. She was showing me some pictures of her riding horses and doing some modeling.
On paper, Natalie appeared to be the ideal partner. She was a 35-year-old model and television actress from Kyiv, Ukraine, holding multiple degrees and speaking openly about her ambitions. She portrayed herself as deeply religious, intelligent, and desperate to start a family. Mike, a 38-year-old man from Washington State, was instantly captivated by her photos. Their early romance seemed authentic. When Mike traveled to Ukraine to meet Natalie in person, he was so taken by her that he proposed during their second meeting, at the Eiffel Tower in Paris. It felt like something straight out of a romantic movie, and fans initially rooted for the couple, believing they had found real love across continents. But even in those early moments, cracks were already forming. Natalie was hyper-focused on having a baby, and made it clear that motherhood was her top priority. She had already left her second husband after 8 years because he refused to have children. At 35, she felt intense pressure from her biological clock, and saw Mike as her pathway to both America and a family. Their differences were extreme. Mike believed in aliens, loved meat, and wasn't particularly religious. Natalie was a vegetarian, deeply spiritual, and wanted children immediately. While opposites can sometimes balance each other, in this case, those differences became irreconcilable. As time passed, Natalie's more troubling traits began to surface, revealing a personality that made the relationship increasingly unbearable. During Mike's trip to Ukraine, Natalie became demanding and emotionally volatile. She pressured him to get her pregnant before he returned to the US, turning what should have been a romantic visit into an uncomfortable standoff. When Mike hesitated, unable to commit to her timeline, Natalie completely lost control. In one of the most shocking moments of their early relationship, Natalie hurled her engagement ring back at Mike and told him to take it with him to America. The move was cruel and calculated, a punishment for not giving her exactly what she wanted.
Why do I have to keep jewelry?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mike was crushed. He had traveled across the world for the woman he loved, only to have his proposal literally thrown back at him. Most viewers assumed the relationship was finished, and honestly, that it should have been. But Natalie wasn't done with Mike yet. Despite the dramatic breakup, Natalie's K-1 visa was eventually approved, giving her another chance to come to the United States. But instead of using this opportunity to rebuild trust, Natalie would soon reveal just how little Mike actually mattered to her. When Natalie arrived in America in early 2020, it became clear almost immediately that her expectations were unrealistic and her gratitude non-existent. From the moment she landed, nothing met her standards. Mike booked a nice hotel suite in Seattle for their reunion, yet Natalie complained when they had to check out. He greeted her with roses, only for her to criticize the color. These moments made it obvious that Natalie expected perfection while offering nothing in return. Things got worse once they reached Mike's home in Sequim, Washington. Natalie was visibly disappointed by his quiet, rural lifestyle. She constantly complained about living in the woods and acted as if Mike had somehow deceived her, despite him being completely honest about his life from the start. Mike even asked his cousin to move out to give them privacy, which was a significant sacrifice. Instead of appreciating it, Natalie fixated on everything she disliked: the cold weather, the isolation, and Mike's long work hours during the COVID staffing shortages. Yet Natalie's most damaging behavior was still ahead. Throughout their 90 days, Natalie repeatedly demanded that Mike return the engagement ring she had thrown at him. She pushed for couples counseling, but used the sessions to attack Mike instead of working on the relationship. She also accused Mike's mother, Trish, of calling her a hooker, an allegation that became a constant source of conflict. Natalie also felt entitled to Mike's money, spending it on elective nose surgery while continuing to criticize him. When she abandoned his truck in a parking lot and left him scrambling to find it through an Uber rental, she showed no remorse at all. Despite everything, Mike kept trying. He cooked her favorite meals and took care of her during surgery recovery, even as she belittled him and dismissed his efforts. As the K-1 visa deadline loomed, Natalie finally got her ring back, and Mike married her just days before she would have been deported. The wedding took place on April 15, 2020, in Clallam County, Washington. But it was clear this was more about securing legal status than love. Mike later admitted he nearly called the wedding off entirely. He married Natalie at the very last possible moment, fully aware that the relationship was already falling apart. By the time 90 Day Fiancé, Happily Ever After, Season 6 began, their marriage was a slow-motion disaster. Every conversation turned into a fight, and their relationship became a cycle of blame, resentment, and emotional abuse. Natalie constantly criticized Mike for going out, for not meeting her impossible expectations, and for simply being himself. When Mike finally pushed back, Natalie immediately played the victim. One of their most explosive confrontations involved Mike's mother, Trish, during a Thanksgiving visit to Oklahoma. Natalie fixated on the hooker accusation until Mike finally told her to call Trish directly. When Trish answered, she didn't hold back. Trish accused Natalie of mistreating Mike, despite everything he had done for her. She denied using the word hooker, but made it clear she believed Natalie was using Mike to stay in America. Still, the worst moment was yet to come. The final breaking point happened during Christmas, 2020. Mike bought Natalie several expensive gifts, trying to make their first Christmas as a married couple meaningful. Natalie responded by giving all of those gifts away to her friend Juliana and her family. When Mike confronted her later, his voice cracked with pain and disbelief. For Mike, this wasn't just about the gifts. It was about feeling completely unvalued. Natalie had taken his love and handed it to someone else, making it clear that nothing he did mattered. That moment became the perfect symbol of their marriage. Mike felt unwanted, disrespected, and emotionally drained. He had given everything, and Natalie treated it like it meant nothing. Instead of staying home to fix their marriage, Natalie began spending most nights at Juliana's place. When Mike confronted her, she blamed their arguments, but to him, it felt like yet another excuse. And leaving Mike was only the beginning of Natalie's chaos. After moving out, Natalie relocated to St. Petersburg, Florida, claiming she wanted to pursue modeling and acting. In reality, she seemed more interested in living a single life while still legally married. She continued using Mike's credit card to fund her lifestyle, proving that even after leaving him, she had no problem taking what he could provide. Meanwhile, Mike was facing very real problems outside of reality TV. When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, Mike stepped up in a major way by helping Natalie's mother escape the war zone. Despite everything Natalie had put him through, Mike showed genuine compassion by making sure his mother-in-law reached safety. Instead of expressing gratitude for Mike's help, Natalie continued living her carefree Florida lifestyle. She posted glamorous Instagram photos, appeared on TLC spin-offs, and openly dated other men, all while still legally married to Mike. Her actions revealed exactly who she was. While innocent people in Ukraine, including her own mother, were suffering, Natalie focused on attention, television exposure, and her dating life. There was no sense of responsibility, appreciation, or acknowledgement toward the man who had helped save her mother's life. It didn't take long before Natalie had fully moved on, locking onto a new target for her manipulation. In 2021, while still married to Mike, Natalie began dating Josh Weinstein, a modeling agency CEO from Arizona. From the start, their relationship followed Natalie's familiar pattern, fueled by chaos, entitlement, and unrealistic expectations. Josh was the father of 2 children with 2 different women, something Natalie openly criticized as not normal in her culture. Yet despite calling him a wild animal waiting to pounce, she couldn't stay away. From the very beginning, it was clear Josh wasn't looking for the kind of commitment Natalie desperately wanted. After their first intimate night during her visit to Los Angeles, Josh immediately got dressed and left her hotel room. Natalie was crushed. She expected him to stay, to kiss her, touch her, and share emotional closeness. Instead, he stood up, said he had to go, and walked out. This dynamic would repeat over and over. Josh gave Natalie just enough attention to keep her emotionally invested, but never the commitment she demanded. As this was happening, the most dramatic chapters of Natalie's story were playing out on television. Natalie's appearances on the Single Life tell-alls exposed the full depth of her delusion and manipulation. During the Season 2 tell-all, she was still clinging to her marriage with Mike while actively pursuing Josh, unable to let go of her safety net. When Mike appeared, via video call, his emotional detachment was brutal. He revealed he had purchased an apartment in Seattle, something Natalie had always wanted, but only after she left. When she attempted to flirt, his response was cold and dismissive, still breathing. The biggest shock came when Mike revealed that Natalie didn't actually have legal status in the United States. He had never filed her adjustment of status paperwork, leaving her stuck in immigration limbo. The realization devastated Natalie. Without Mike's help, deportation was a real possibility. She begged him to stay married longer, to help her buy a car, to offer her any kind of lifeline. But Mike was finished. He made it clear that Natalie's love life no longer mattered to him. Whoever she dated and whatever she did was irrelevant. While Natalie continued trying to contact him, Mike chose to ignore her completely. That chapter of his life was closed for good. Natalie collapsed emotionally, running off the world stage in tears. Backstage, she admitted she was terrified of being deported and deeply humiliated. But Mike wasn't done making his point. The ultimate humiliation came during another tell-all, when Natalie was served divorce papers live on television. Mike arranged for Debbie Johnson to deliver them in front of millions of viewers. Even after being publicly served, Natalie refused to accept reality. She insisted she wouldn't divorce Mike, claiming it was his decision alone. At the same time, she continued chasing Josh, all while keeping Mike in the background as a backup plan. Mike made his position crystal clear. He couldn't move forward with his new girlfriend until Natalie was legally out of his life. He wanted children someday, just not with her. He was moving in with his new partner and taking things slow, but seriously. The image of Natalie being served divorce papers on national television, sobbing, stunned, and confused, became the perfect symbol of her downfall. After years of manipulation, Mike had finally taken control of the narrative. Even then, Natalie's behavior remained baffling. She brushed Josh aside but leaned in to kiss Mike on the cheek, proving she still couldn't let go of the man she had mistreated for years. And her problems with Josh were only just beginning. As Natalie and Josh's relationship dragged on through multiple seasons of The Single Life, it became obvious they were completely incompatible. Josh continued dangling just enough attention to keep Natalie hooked, while refusing to fully commit. During Season 3, their physical connection was strong, but everything else was a mess. Josh frequently disappeared for work trips, left Natalie alone in hotel rooms, and refused to introduce her to his children or make her a real priority. Natalie's controlling tendencies escalated. She demanded more time, more reassurance, and more commitment, none of which Josh was willing to give. When she moved to Los Angeles to be closer to him, Josh announced he'd be leaving for Ohio just 2 weeks later, leaving her shocked and abandoned yet again. Their relationship became a never-ending cycle, Natalie pushing for security, Josh pulling away. At one point, Natalie asked Josh to co-sign her apartment lease, hoping he'd finally step up. Josh refused, explaining that their relationship wasn't stable enough for shared responsibilities, and that he needed far more trust before making that kind of commitment. Natalie's own mother also made it clear she didn't approve of Josh, telling him she wanted her daughter to be with someone dependable and stable. But despite the warnings, Natalie refused to let go. even when it became obvious Josh would never give her the life she envisioned. Eventually, the unhealthy cycle reached its breaking point, bringing their story to an ending that felt unavoidable and unforgettable. By 2024, there was no denying that the relationship had completely collapsed. Even appearing together on 90 Day, The Last Resort Season 2 failed to save them, because therapy couldn't repair the deeper cracks between them. Josh openly admitted that things dragged on far longer than they should have, largely because Natalie relied on him too heavily. According to Josh, Natalie had no one else to turn to, which caused him to become her emotional lifeline whenever she needed help or reassurance. He explained that his empathy kept him tied to Natalie long after the relationship stopped being healthy. Josh admitted he constantly worried about what would happen to her if he walked away, and that sense of responsibility weighed heavily on him. Instead of leaving when he should have, he stayed out of sympathy, not love. Their bond, he revealed, was built more on obligation than genuine connection. Natalie saw the situation very differently. During the Last Resort finale, she confessed that she felt used and abandoned by Josh, especially after he skipped their final ceremony and chose to leave early. His departure crushed whatever hope she still had of holding on to him. By the tell-all, things only became more painful. Josh had already moved on and was rumored to be involved with another cast member, reportedly Jen Davis, the sister of Elizabeth Podhast. When the host brought it up, Natalie had no response other than scoffing, clearly stunned by how quickly Josh had replaced her. In early 2025, Josh finally confirmed what everyone already suspected. His relationship with Natalie was officially over. During a podcast appearance, Josh admitted their relationship had been dragged out because of Natalie's emotional dependence on him. He explained that she viewed him as her go-to person because she didn't have anyone else to rely on. Josh acknowledged that her desperation tugged at his heart and kept him involved longer than he should have been. But in the end, even his compassion wasn't strong enough to outweigh Natalie's toxic behavior. The final confirmation came when Josh began dating Jen Davis, another 90-day fiancé connection. This made it clear he had completely moved on and found someone capable of offering a healthier, more balanced relationship. Today, Natalie Mordovtseva stands as a textbook example of how not to navigate relationships, fame, or personal growth. Her transformation from hopeful immigrant to cautionary tale was entirely self-inflicted. She was given multiple chances to build a stable life in America, but destroyed each one through entitlement, aggression, and a refusal to accept responsibility. Her story highlights the dangers of unchecked ego, the consequences of domestic violence, and the emptiness of chasing fame without substance. Once a sympathetic figure viewers wanted to support, Natalie ultimately became one of the most disliked cast members in 90 Day Fiancé history. What makes Natalie's downfall so complete is that she never learned from her mistakes. Every relationship followed the same pattern: unrealistic demands, controlling behavior, explosive anger, and eventual collapse. She blamed everyone else while refusing to acknowledge her own role in creating the chaos. The woman who once insisted she deserved to be worshipped like royalty ended up completely alone, without legal status, without lasting relationships, and with a reputation that left no place for her in reality television. Every opportunity she was given was burned to the ground, along with every bridge she crossed. Natalie's story is a powerful reminder that success requires more than ambition and drama. It demands respect for others, emotional maturity, and the ability to learn from failure, qualities Natalie never developed. The queen who demanded worship ultimately dethroned herself. What's your take on Natalie's complete downfall? Was it inevitable from the start, or could different choices have changed her fate? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more shocking stories from the world of reality TV.